And let's talk about variable. And here is an example where we have two variables, name and age, and they both get a value. In programming, a variable is a named reference to a value. And in Python, variables themselves don't have data types, but the values do. So if we write a variable, let's say it's x, and we assign some value here, let's say it's 7. What actually happens is that this x is reference to this value 7. So we can write it as, let's say this is the variable name, and here we have a memory, and somewhere in the memory there's this value 7. Now if I assign a new variable, let's say y to 10, then we can say that this y points to maybe this location here. And the variables are only the names. They don't know what's inside the memory where they refer to, but the value inside the memory, this has the data type. So here we can say that this is a number, but if I have a name, that's my name here, then we can say that somewhere in this memory there is, and the name points to this value here. And yes, in Python, the variables themselves don't have data types. In some languages they do, but only the values where the variables refer to, those have the data types. And how to use variables. So here is an example of code where we have some variables and we use those variables to print out some values to the screen. So here I assign a value 7 into this value, and now if I want to use this value, I can, for example, print out the value of x. So what happens is that it sees a variable here, it finds the value from the memory, it knows the location where this x points to, and now it can print out the 7. Now, in this case, when we print out 7 and afterwards we can change the value to, let's say, 9, then what happens is that this one here is basically rewritten to 9. What actually can happen, it depends on the scenario, but what can happen is, in that case, if the x points to 7 and if I assign a new value into this variable, it can actually point to somewhere else. So it can happen that after this line, the x actually points to this location in memory. But the idea is that basically we have a variable and it points to, let's say, a box, and inside the box there is a value. Currently it was 7, now it's 9. Now if I print out x, I get 9 here. So this applies only when the interpreter reaches to that line. So before that the value of x was 7, now I change the value, and now printing here gives us 9. The code here also shows the similar things. So we have two variables, greeting and student count. I can print out the greeting, I can print out the number of students. I can change the value for greeting. So the greeting was hello all, now it's hi, and I can increase the student count. So what happens here is that I, instead of assigning a new value, I add 2. And what happens now is that before I can assign something into a variable, I have to calculate the right side here. And for that, first I take the x value, let's say x value currently is 9. It basically calculates 9 plus 2 gets 11, and now the 11 or the new value is assigned into this x value. So now I can write 11 here. So after that line, if I print it out, print x gives us 11. But what happens here is that before I can assign, I have to calculate the right side of this expression, and here I can use the values for variables. Mathematically, it would be nonsense because it's not true to have x equals x plus 2, but in Python this is not equal sign, this is assignment sign. So we assign something into the variable. As shown in the code, I can use shorter version of this expression or assignment. I can use it like that, x plus equals 2. This is the same as I would add 2 to the same variable. Same, I could do the same with minus. I could do the same with multiplication and so on, and with division, x divided by 2 and so on. So what happens is that this variable gets a new value based on this operation here and this value. So currently we do x plus 2 and assign it back to x. Here we subtract 2. Here we multiply it by 2, and here we divide it by 2.